All right, so you ready to dive in?
Always.
Awesome. Okay, so today we're looking at what makes relationships strong.
Okay.
Especially when, thinking about the possibility of betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
So to do that, we're going to be going through an episode of the Heart to Heart podcast.
Right.
And they get into love, loyalty, trust, all that good stuff.
Right.
But here's the catch.
Okay.
They've got this song woven through the whole episode.
Oh, interesting.
Almost like it's commenting on what they're talking about.
Like a soundtrack to the conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
I like it.
So we're going to be picking apart both the words they're saying and what the song lyrics tell us about all these themes.
Sounds like a fun challenge.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where it goes. So they start off by kind of laying the groundwork, love, loyalty, and trust.
Trifecta.
Right, the cornerstones of any kind of meaningful relationship.
Absolutely. And I think what's cool about how they frame it is it's not just about romantic relationships.
Oh, good.
It applies to friendships, family, even work relationships.
That makes it much more relatable.
Yeah, because you realize these qualities aren't just like nice to have.
Right.
They're essential for building that intimacy, that security in any close connection.
It's knowing you can really depend on someone.
Exactly. Someone's got your back.
Yeah, okay, but then buckle up. They take a hard left and straight to the dark side betrayal.
Ooh, heavy stuff.
And they don't mess around with the language either.
Like, what kind of words are we talking?
Shattering, a venomous sting, even a shadow that hangs over everything.
Wow. You can really feel the weight of those words.
Yeah, I think that intensity is intentional.
Oh, definitely. Because betrayal cuts deep.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just about hurt feelings. It feels like this violation, almost.
Like a gut punch.
Exactly. And our brains react in ways that actually mirror physical pain when trust is broken.
Really?
Yeah, it's wild, right?
That's fascinating. So it's not just like in our heads.
Nope, it's a real physiological response.
Huh, but then they go on to say that, people make mistakes.
I mean, we're all human.
Right, even with good intentions we can stumble.
Which makes sense. We're not always rational, especially when emotions are involved.
Especially in relationships, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about it. Temptation can be really powerful.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes it leads us to do things that, we wish we hadn't.
And that's part of why trust is so fragile, I guess.
Yeah, one misstep can really crack that foundation.
So they're not letting anyone off the hook, but they're acknowledging the reality.
Mm-hmm. It's a nuanced perspective.
And they even go so far as to call cheating straight up poison.
Whoa, that's strong.
Infecting even the strongest bonds, they say.
So I'm curious, do you think that kind of language is helpful?
You mean when it comes to actually repairing a relationship?
Yeah, or does it make forgiveness, even harder?
It's a good question. Because on the one hand, you want to acknowledge the hurt.
Absolutely, you can't just sweep it under the rug.
But on the other hand, if you're constantly dwelling on that negativity...
Hard to move forward.
Exactly. So where's the balance?
Right.
Now, speaking of different perspectives, let's finally get to those song lyrics.
Okay, yes, the soundtrack to this whole conversation.
Remember, we only have snippets, but even those little pieces, they're heavy, lots of pain and loneliness coming through.
It's like the song is expressing that raw, visceral reaction to betrayal.
Yeah, in a way that the podcast, with all its talk about rebuilding and stuff, doesn't quite capture.
It's like when words just aren't enough.
Right, and music steps in.
Exactly. It can convey those deep emotions that are hard to articulate.
So do you think the song is like working against the podcast's message of healing?
I don't know if I'd say that.
Okay, so not like a direct contradiction.
I think it's more about adding another layer.
The layer of what?
Complexity, Because healing from betrayal, it's messy.
Oh, definitely not a straight line.
It's full of ups and downs, anger, sadness, confusion, all of it.
And the song's acknowledging that reality.
Saying, yeah, this hurts, but you can get through it.
It's holding space for the pain and the possibility of healing at the same time.
Right, and that's what makes it so relatable.
Because relationships are messy, they're not always picture perfect.
It's all part of being human, right?
Okay, so we've got the building blocks of strong relationships.
Yeah.
We've got the sting of betrayal.
And this song's adding this whole other emotional dimension.
But the heart-to-heart host, they end with a pretty clear call to action.
Yeah, what do they say?
They're really pushing for prioritizing love, loyalty, and trust.
Makes sense. Those are the foundation we were talking about.
Right, and they talk about open communication, honesty, really nurturing those bonds.
Which sounds great in theory, But how do you actually do that?
That's what I'm wondering. Are those qualities like innate?
You mean, are you just born with them?
Yeah, or can you learn to be more loving, more loyal?
That's a great question. And thankfully, they don't frame it as an all or nothing thing.
Okay.
They present it as skills that you can develop, you know?
So it's not about being perfect. It's about actively working on yourself.
Exactly. And the people you care about.
Which takes effort, but it's encouraging to hear it's possible.
It's an investment in stronger, healthier relationships.
And I think that's a perfect segue into the next part of our deep dive.
I'm intrigued. What's next?
We've talked about the foundation, the cracks, and the potential for repair.
Right.
But now I want to get your take on something we haven't really touched on yet.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about this song woven through the whole episode. What are your thoughts on the song choices themselves?
You mean, like, whether they were the right songs?
Yeah. Were they the right fit for this particular episode?
That's a really interesting question to consider.
Because remember how the podcast host described love?
How do they put it?
It was something like a sacred space, a sanctuary of honesty.
Right. Very idealistic.
But then the song lyrics, at least the snippets we heard,
Yeah.
they seem to come from a place of hurt and resentment.
So you're wondering if those two perspectives clash?
Yeah, do they really fit together, or is it just jarring?
It does feel a bit disjointed.
Maybe that's intentional, you know?
What do you mean?
Like, maybe they're trying to highlight how hard it is to reconcile those two sides.
The ideal of love and the messy reality of betrayal.
Exactly. They can exist at the same time, but bridging that gap, that's the challenge.
You know, that's a really good point.
And it makes me wonder if the song is kind of speaking for the person who's singing.
Well, the podcast host is more like the objective voice, offering advice.
Giving both sides of the story a platform.
That's fascinating. So it's like the song is the raw, emotional response.
And the podcast is trying to make sense of it, offer a path forward.
It's a really interesting dynamic.
It is. So I'm curious, what do you think?
About.
If you were producing this heart-to-heart episode,
Yeah.
what kind of song would you pick? Something uplifting or something that leans into the pain?
That's tough. I think it depends on what you want the listener to walk away with.
Right, hope or a sense of the complexity.
A hopeful song could be comforting.
But a more melancholic one might resonate with someone who's hurting.
It's about finding music that speaks to the heart of the matter.
Creating an emotional connection that goes beyond just words.
Because music has this power to tap into our emotions, sometimes better than words can.
Bringing us back to your question, were the song choices the right ones? Maybe there's no right answer. It's about what the creators were trying to do.
The emotional landscape they wanted to create.
And that's the beauty of art. It's open to interpretation.
Different people connect with it in different ways.
Okay, so let's recap for a sec. We've explored the foundation of strong relationships, the impact of betrayal.
The role of the song.
But, as always, we want to leave you with something to chew on.
Okay, hit me.
We've talked about what song the podcast chose.
Yeah.
If you were producing this episode, what song would you pick?
Wow, that's a deep one.
What music speaks to your understanding of love, loyalty, and trust?
What would I want the listener to feel?
Because this deep dive, it's not just about analyzing a podcast.
It's about exploring these themes in our own lives.
Our experiences with love, loyalty, and trust, how we navigate it all.
And music can be such a powerful tool for that kind of reflection.
It helps us process, make sense of things, maybe even find comfort.
It's like music gives us a language for the feelings we struggle to express.
That's beautiful, you know? A perfect note to end on.
I like it.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of relationships.
Always a pleasure. And if you're still thinking about that song question,
Yeah, the one we left you with.
what song would you choose?
It's a tough one, right?
There's no right answer. It's all about what resonates with you.
What speaks to your experience?
So don't overthink it. Let those ideas simmer.
Maybe a song will pop into your head while you're, like, doing the dishes.
Or you'll hear a melody that triggers a memory.
You could even create a whole playlist inspired by what we've been talking about.
Exactly. The possibilities are endless.
But the important thing is to keep the conversation going.
With yourself and with the people you care about.
Because love, loyalty, trust.
These are themes we grapple with throughout our lives.
And music can be such a powerful companion on that journey. So until next time, keep exploring.
Keep questioning.
And keep listening to the melodies that move you.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.
And we hope you enjoyed this deep dive into...
Love, loyalty.
Yeah, all the messy stuff.
The good, the bad.
The music that goes along with it.
It's all connected, isn't it?
It really is. So Until next time.
Keep those conversations going.
And keep listening.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.